Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be filling out a sketchbook spread. I'm going to be talking about each of the steps in the process. So that'll be from the first step to sketching all the way to the inking and then finally the coloring process. So let's just dive right into it. For this specific sketchbook spread, I didn't really have a plan of what I wanted to accomplish in the spread. Now, usually whenever I create a sketchbook spread, I like to have a common theme that will go, a common theme for all of the elements. So for this one, I literally just looked at a bunch of reference images. I kind of combined some of them and created like a mix of all of the images that I looked at, and this is basically what I ended up with. Now, for the first part of the sketch, I like to always create a skeleton of each character so I can try to estimate how much space each character will take. Now, when I use the word like estimate, I don't want to freak anyone out and think like I'm doing like some crazy math and like trying to figure out how much area each character will take on the page. But it's just more like an approximation, just like a really rough idea. So once I do that, then I will add more details. And now with like an entire spread, I would like to kind of mix it up. Meaning like I want to have some characters that are standing, some characters that are sitting, some characters that have like a close-up of the face, like the upper body portion, so that it adds more interest, more entry to the entire sketchbook spread. Now I want to also add different like quotes and words and stuff like that to the background. That would also be cool, or just like simple elements. That would be like the ideal spread. But a lot of the times I either lose interest in the spread and give up halfway and try to finish it up quickly, or I just want to quickly, get the spread done so I don't add that many details to the background. Or I don't know where I was going with that. But so I drew a lot of the characters here. One thing I will say is that on this page specifically, I felt like the characters had a lot of space between them, and for whatever reason I just could not overlook that, and it was just kind of bothering me the entire time. It was just in the back of my mind like, oh, I need to fill in that space. So I end up filling in that space. You guys will see what I do. But yeah, here on the right side of the page, I drew a character that was sitting. I didn't really know what they should exactly be sitting on, so like some idea that I had was maybe they could sit like on a bench, or maybe like a couch. I think I didn't go with either of those options. I went with like some brickwork, like kind of like a step, like a patio step almost, because I wanted to add some flowers in the back. I don't think I ever added any flowers, because flowers are kind of difficult to draw. I will say that, especially like roses. For whatever reason, those always stop me. Like I'm not good at drawing roses. I think they're very beautiful flowers, but I cannot get the shapes correct. But for the sitting pose, I decided to draw very flowy hair. So like I was imagining this hair as like kind of like ribbons or like cloth just flowing over the shoulder. So that's what I did. Now I moved on pretty quickly to this other face in the background. So this face was like a really, really close up to give a contrast between the other figures that I have on the page. I really like this expression. It was like a bored expression. And I really, really, really wanted to capture that expression to the best of my abilities. So I really took my time on this one. I think it was well worth the effort. I will say that. It was well worth the effort. So like the hand is kind of pressed up on one side of the face, right? So it kind of pressed up on the left eye. I wanted to capture that, and like how the lips kind of on one side is like push upwards. So I really slowed down on all the lines and kept tweaking it until I ended up with something I liked. Then here on the left page, I decided to add a circle around this character to fill up that gap between those two characters. I liked how that turned out. Yeah, I really liked that. And then since I had that one circle, I decided, hey, let's just keep drawing circles in the background and fill up the background of the page. So yeah, and I also just went back with the kneaded eraser to lighten up all the pencil marks to get ready for the next stage of the process, which is the inking process. Now for this one, I actually didn't want to use my fine liners. Initially, I just wanted to use markers and then paint between the marker lines to kind of give it a soft vibe, rather than using like a harsh black fine liner that I always gravitate towards. So as I was doing this, something in me was just not sitting right with these colors. For whatever reason, I could just not go through with it. I really tried to push myself and like try to do something different, but everything in me was just screaming to like pick up the fine liner and my black brush pen. So that's what I did. I went back with my fine liner and I believe I just covered up all that marker. So I will say that, yes, I'm glad that I pushed myself and tried something different. And even if I didn't like it, I'm still glad I tried it. I really like that I put in the effort to push my art in a different direction and see, like, you know, what I'm capable of. Now here I am inking this character. These characters, I didn't add that marker. So this was just like my usual process. And whenever I follow my usual process, I'm pretty comfortable with it and I find it very relaxing. I think that a lot of the times whenever I'm drawing, I push myself too hard and I need to step back and remind myself that drawing should be fun and enjoyable. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have that same pressure? Like you want to push yourself to create really great art and sometimes you forget that art should be fun. I don't know. Comment down below. I feel like a lot of artists probably feel the same way. But anyways, here, I want to mention about this one figure here that since these pants were very baggy, I wanted to add a lot of details to it because it's like the largest portion of the character. So I thought it was great to add just like different seams on the clothing and just play around with it, add a lot of details. I love adding details. It's like my favorite thing in the world. Then for this character, I outlined the flowy hair. Now for the cardigan, I was like, I don't know if I should draw out all the different patterns. Like, on a knitted top, you can really see just different like vertical lines and stuff like that. I was debating on doing that or not, but I think I just decided in this stage of the drawing not to add it. But then later, like if I wanted to, I could just always go back and add it. I also added some text on the side. Now, I'm not that great at typography or like calligraphy. Whenever I try to create some text, what happens is that I take up too much space for like the first few letters of the word, and then the rest of the word can't even fit in the space that I want it to. So it's always such a disaster. But I don't know, maybe there is some way on how to do it, you know, like how to make sure like all the words fit. I just have not figured that out. But for this one, what I did, I drew some guidelines, like a couple lines, so that at least I could figure out the height of the words. Yeah, that's why I don't really add text into my drawings. Then for the coloring process, the skin tone, I did have some difficulty with getting that color. I feel like every time I create a new drawing, I always create a different skin tone. I can never like replicate the same skin tone that I had for a previous drawing. So I didn't really like the pink that I added, that I created initially. So then I added more brown tone to that paint. I ended up really liking this shade here. I thought it looked so beautiful, so I ended up just going through all the different characters with this one color. Also because I don't want to create another paint and mix like another skin tone, because this is such a small area on the drawing, so I don't want to like waste the paint and just create too much paint. So yeah, that's what I did. And this character is probably the first character I ever drawn with tattoos. So that was really something interesting. I didn't know how to draw tattoos, so that's something new I learned in this drawing. Oh, and then this close-up face drawing that I have going around here. The thing about this, when I was coloring this in, it was very patchy. For whatever reason, when I was painting this, there was like a lot of gaps between the paint. I don't know if it's that visible on camera, but it was really visible in person. So I don't know, because maybe I was going through it too fast. I was like trying to paint too quickly. So I wasn't ensuring that every part of the page is covered up with paint. I don't know. That's why I always like to take my time with acrylic paint and then make sure like I smoothen out the paint and everything's nice covered up. And then also I like to go over it multiple times and do like 1 or 2 coats of paint so that it's a nice finished piece. Yeah, so much going on with this piece for sure. I also took out my wider width brush because it was taking quite some time to fill in each of these shapes with my smaller brush. The issue with this larger brush is that sometimes I don't have a good control over it and I go over the lines, but I can fill up spaces pretty quickly with it. It's a nice stiff brush. I feel like I have a lot more control with it rather than my smaller brushes. Then here is where I decided to fill in the hair with this darker color. I was really debating on whether or not to fill in with this color, with this dark color, but I ended up doing that. I really liked how it looked. I also tried to make sure that some of that pink color from that marker would show through. So I just added a little bit more element of fun. Then here I took that pink color and colored in the pants with that. Now these are like the Crayola super tip markers, so they streak pretty easily. So I was trying to be very careful with them and just use them for like smaller areas. But then I was kind of having too much fun with them. I just used it wherever I wanted to and just didn't care about the streakiness. I tried to hide the streakiness to the best of my abilities, but what can you do? These are water-based markers. You can't really color that much well with them. I don't even know if that sentence made sense. But yeah. Oh, and then here I ended up adding lines to the cardigan, and I think this is the finished illustration. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening about this process, and yeah, thank you all so much for watching.